Tom English Picker here with Nick Hills, just having a quick chat about the reselling in the UK. You there, Nick, and all right?
Yep. Hi, Tom. Good to see you. So, fire away. What do you want to know?
Well, just have a bit of a chat, really. I know There's a lot of guys out there who are interested to chat to you, and I've just a few just rough questions, really, and just to sort of have a discussion, maybe meet back up if anybody else wants to join the discussion at a further date and have a chat, just sort of to give it a go, really. There's no one in the UK in the reselling community that's really talking on YouTube like this, so it'd be good to do it. So first question I wanted to start out with, which is one that I struggle with a lot, is what do you tell your friends and family you do for a living?
um, well, my family know exactly what I do. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing this in one form or another for 13 years. Um, I had a high street shop for 8 years, doing very similar stuff, buying and selling these sort of things, games and CDs and DVDs. And I've been back on eBay full time for 2 or 3 years now. As for friends, it depends if they understand it, really. You know, I can say I'm an eBay reseller, and sometimes I just look at you like, what's that sort of thing? And some people just understand it straight away. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes there's a bit of people look at you a bit funny, and they're a bit sort of, that sounds a bit dull boyish. That sounds a bit weird. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been doing it for so long. I think it's perfectly natural. But some people just don't understand what I'm talking about, I think.
Yeah, I get that where you start talking to someone and maybe they show a vague bit of interest, and then you go too far and talk too much, and then they just get this glazed expression and this look of I want to get out of here.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think some people's understanding of what we do only goes so far. You know, they know what eBay is and they know what I'm talking about, as in I buy stuff and resell it, but I don't think they can make the leap from I do this to earn a living. And
Mm,
how is that possible? I think people look at me like, are you making this up? What do you mean you earn a living buying at car boot sales and selling on? People can't comprehend that you can make enough money to make a living out of it, I think. And they think I'm making it all up.
yeah.
But
Oh, I get that as well. That people see it as like a cute little hobby, and then so what are you going to do for a real job? When are you going to get a career? Is the one I get a lot. So when are you
oh,
going
the
to get a
real job,
career?
yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. People look at you like, yeah, like it's a glorified hobby, and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. What do you actually do? So,
yeah,
I've had
yeah.
real jobs.
Yeah. So
I've been there.
I've certainly had. I went to a mortgage advisor not long ago, and trying to explain what I do to a mortgage advisor was just awful. So yeah. Okay. Yes. You mentioned about you had a brick and mortar store. I just wondered if you could elaborate on that, and also why you stopped doing that, and just sort of yeah, brief, briefly.
Um, it's a fairly long story, really. I started out. Well, if we go back to the last job I had, the last proper job I was in the police force, and I was just unhappy. It wasn't for me. And I've been doing buying and selling on eBay, like as a hobby, like literally in my spare time. And then I made the big decision to quit my job and walk out because I'd built up my hobby to a point where I could earn a living out of it. And then me and the wife sold on eBay for a couple of years. But at that point, we didn't own our own house. We had a tiny little house, and it was just filling up the stock. You know what it's like. We were just accumulating stuff. And my background was in retail. My wife at the time worked for Amazon, and she had a background in retail as well. So we decided to open a bricks and mortar store and run the eBay business from the back of the shop. And yeah, the thing was, the shop just took off, and it was a huge success. And then we expanded that to a really big shop, and we ended up doing it for 8 years. And
Wow.
at that time, I used to sell on Amazon almost exclusively. I used eBay a little bit for collectible stuff, but Amazon was perfect for us. We'd have so much stuff coming through the door and being sold to us that I just used to scan it straight into Amazon and sell on there. And then the reason we got out was, well, it was an awkward one really. We tried to sell the business because we've been in it for 8 years and we had the business valued and it was worth, well, I won't go into figures, but a lot of money. We had a huge valuation on the business, and but then the financial crash happened, and we had 2 offers that we had accepted on it. One that we were going for, and when he went to the bank to sort it all out and get the loan, they had just pulled the plug on lending to small businesses, so that fell through. But we had handed in our notice on the lease, so we had no options. So we ended up just closing this shop that was potentially worth a fortune. And yeah, we went back to selling online. And we're a lot happier because we're in control of our time a bit more, and we have our weekends.
Yeah.
Well, apart from boot sailing, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting what you say. I mean, I think through adversity comes sort of inspiration. Really, that I had a similar thing. I was working in London, quite a well-paid job. The recession or whatever you want to call it happened, and I got made redundant. And I was like, "What am I going to do?" And I'd always been selling on eBay, so it was a logical progression for me. But I think being put in that situation of what am I going to do, you know, I think that really does help you in a sense. So,
yeah. What's your background then? What was the job?
well, my background's furniture making. I ran a furniture company that was on Bond Street, and was sort of in charge of all the designs and working with the factories to get things produced and things like that. But because it was such a luxury good, it got hit hard with the sort of 2007 time. The sales just absolutely nosedived because people were in panic mode, and it was a business that the guy above me owned and ran, and it was ran on such a knife edge that one little thing just tipped it over because of you'd have to shell out so much money to get all these things produced, and then people wouldn't necessarily pay straight away, or they'd pay in sections. That it was just such a precarious business that's why I had to go. So
Okay.
it was interesting. It was interesting. I did enjoy doing it, and with the sales as well, I dealt with. It gave me quite a good background in sort of selling the more luxury goods and dealing with the people who've got more money than sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I once got commissioned to design. It was I won't go into names, but it was one of the lead sort of Saudi people high up to design a bed that the entire base was made out of. Well, he wanted glass, but that wasn't practical. He wanted it so it looked like the bed was floating, and that was thousands and thousands of pounds commission. It was just stupid money they paid for that. But they're the kind of people I used to deal with. So yeah, and now I'm selling Beanie Babies on eBay, so it's changed a bit.
But it keeps life interesting, doesn't it? You know,
It does. To be honest, I don't miss the stress. I really don't miss the stress.
No.
I love London. It's great, but I don't miss the central line and on rush hour and the stress of getting the orders sorted and whatnot. I think now, once I've worked for myself for about 5 years or so, I think I'm now ruined as a person. I don't think I could ever go back to a job, ever. I'm too sort of independent, really.
Yeah, I think I would really struggle to go back into paid employment. It's been so long now.
Yeah.
And talking about, I don't miss the stress of running the shop. The stress of it for me was because we also did new games and new CDs and new DVDs, so I used to deal with probably 7 or 8 different suppliers and keeping all of the charts up to date. So I used to deal with Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, and there was no margin in new stuff at all. We didn't make any money really in new stuff.
Yeah.
But it bought all of the second-hand stuff in. It was our way to get second-hand stock. but juggling all these suppliers, it was only me and my wife really running it and a few part-time staff. But yeah, the stress, the difference between where I was then and the amount of work and stress I had to do to this, where I just put the hours in that I want, and you know, I'm in control of my time. Whereas with the shop, I had to be there 9 to 5 every day and Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's a different world.
I think the greatest difficulty I've found personally is self-motivation. Is that if you don't work, you know, you don't get any money. It's getting your head around that. It sounds so simple, but
yeah, no, that's the hardest thing about this is your own time management. There's 101 things that distract me and take my focus away from what I should be doing.
Yeah.
You know, be it YouTube, be it the telly, be it walking the dog, be it whatever. There's always something else that I could be doing rather than putting all of these items here on eBay.
Yeah, I think there's a place for that, obviously, but yeah, I think it's a bit difficult because there's a lot of, as you said before, there's a lot of people on YouTube who are portraying this as a get rich quick, buy my book and find out how you can, make all this money, and then they're portraying the things like I'm buying this item, and this is this is worth £100. But as you said, they don't show that it could be worth that, but you might have to sit on it for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't talk about the amount of. Well, we talked about this before about when I show a haul video. Let's say I picked up all of this at the weekend, and people might think, "Oh wow, that's so easy. He just popped out down the car boot sale for half hour and came home with this." But what they don't see is me dragging myself out of bed at 6:30 in the dark, and then going to a car boot sale in the freezing cold, walking around, finding tons and tons of stock that's either too much money, or it's in terrible condition, or it's worthless rubbish. I have to sift through all of that to find the gems, and then that's what you end up with. But this is like, a whole morning's work on a freezing cold Saturday for what might only turn out to be £100 worth of stuff. And then I've got to put a couple of days into listing it all, and a lot of it might stay on my shelf for 2 months, 3 months even, some of it. So there's no quick money-making thing here. Every now and again, like you'll find one game that you can sell for 50 quid, and yeah, that's fantastic. That's half an hour's work for 50 quid, lovely, but that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started with eBay and also with my channel, it was very much kind of, I like to think of it like boom or bust eBay. I'd have a bumper week where just everything would sell, and then I'd have another week where I'd sell nothing, and I'd think, it's all over, that's it, it's finished. So now I've kind of got away from that into the more buy it now and be patient, and it seems to work a lot better for me.
Yeah, I've found because I've got quite a large inventory of stock, and I'm quite happy for things to sit there for a certain amount of time. I do like my stock to turn over, but I find that the sales just tick along, even if I don't list for a whole week. Like when I was ill the other week and I didn't list for a whole week, I still had the sales coming in because I had 400 or 500 items on there, so I still get regular sales, and it kind of evens out. So I'm not guaranteed a certain income, but I can bank on a certain amount each day coming through, whether I'm listing or not.
Yeah. So sort of on that really, do you, other than, I mean, you mentioned Amazon before, and it's quite interesting to hear that your wife worked at Amazon really not long after it had started, from what it seems. But do you sell anywhere else other than eBay? And you mentioned Amazon.
No, just eBay and Amazon. Well, I say that I've sold a few things through Facebook. I experimented with that, but I found it a lot of faffing around, and I didn't have a lot of joy out of Facebook. I know a lot of people are picking up stuff through Facebook these days, and I need to get into that and try and find some good deals on there. But as for selling, I am 90% on eBay and about 10% on Amazon these days. Probably not even 10%. But like I say, in the past, it used to be the other way around. It used to be 90-odd% on Amazon and just a little bit on eBay. It just depends what suits whatever situation I'm in.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, myself personally, I've tried other things. I've tried the Facebook thing, but I don't really like mixing business with pleasure of sorts. Not that Facebook's entirely pleasurable, but I think the friends that I've got on there probably would get a bit weirded out if I started talking about selling and buying stuff. So if I was to do it, I'd probably create a separate account just purely for that. I've
Yeah,
also got. Go on, sorry, Nick.
there's some like Facebook groups based around Hitchin and Stevenage area, which are just for buying and selling. So you can just become a friend or a member of that group if you like, and then just stick your stuff on there, so it's separate from your own page.
Yeah,
Which I've used, and that worked quite well. I mean, I do have a Facebook page, but I kind of opt out of that whole thing now. I found it got so tiresome.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think there is, if you know how to use it, I think you could probably do well out of Facebook. I think there's a new YouTuber, Amy, is it? I don't know if you've seen
yeah,
Amy
yeah,
videos, and she's
yeah,
talked about finding some good stuff on there.
yeah.
So it certainly works.
Yeah, definitely, and I think also for sourcing and some people I know for selling larger items. I know Gumtree is good. I bought bits off Gumtree. I never sold anything, but I know a lot of people who sell furniture on Gumtree or big items. Um, and I've grabbed stuff from FreeCycle, but it's a lot of work, and sometimes I've gone to collect because I used to buy and sell furniture because that's sort of my background, but I've often gone to get things from FreeCycle, and the people change their mind and don't want to give it away. It's ever so peculiar. Um, and I've sold bits on Etsy as well. Etsy's a funny one though, because just the sell through rate of stuff is just awful. I mean, it's just you never seem to sell anything. I've taken like lots of my eBay listings and copied them onto Etsy, and I might sell, if I'm lucky, one thing a month, if that. It's so
Yeah,
slow.
Andrea, my wife, makes craft items. She makes things with Scrabble tiles. She makes rings and earrings and all of that. And she had an Etsy account for a while, but yeah, she didn't get on with it very well. She found their systems were really clunky, and it was just wasn't a pleasurable place to sell on. Whereas eBay, you have a lot more control over things, and we sell it all on there now. And we do really well selling the tie slides and rings and key rings, and she sells hundreds of those. They go really well.
Yeah, I can imagine they would. I mean, Etsy's a funny one. I don't know how it's still in business. It seems like it's other makers buying from other makers. And my two main issues is there's no way of looking up. It's the same with Amazon. No way of knowing what something actually sold for, and there's also no way of making an offer like the best offer function on eBay, which I particularly like.
Yeah. No, I mean we don't touch Etsy anymore. We find that eBay is the kind of one-stop place for pretty much anything we want to sell now. And I think there's a lot to be said from concentrating on one platform. It keeps everything focused on the one thing. And if you're juggling multi-platforms, I think you can quickly lose track of where your stuff is and what's going on, and miss orders and make mistakes. So
Yeah,
I like the clarity of using eBay. I know I said I use Amazon a little bit, but it's very little, so it's easy to keep track of.
yeah. I mean, I used to do that. I used to list things on eBay and on Amazon, sort of computer games, the brand new stuff, merchant fulfill it. But there was a couple of slip-ups where I'd sold out and I'd forgotten to mark it the other way, so it just got too complicated. So now I either merchant fulfill it, it goes in a box, I send it into FBA, or I sell it on eBay, and never the twain shall meet because it's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, I find if you do something and you think, oh, there's a possibility that I will cock this up somehow, you just know it's going to happen.
Yeah,
It's like, if you set something up and you think, right, I've got to remember that that's on two platforms, or I've got to remember I've said this here, and it doesn't happen. We're so busy, and if I try and make my systems foolproof because I'm a fool at the best of times. So I try and eliminate the errors as best I can, but they still happen, and it's just a fact of life. While we're on
Yeah.
Amazon and
Go on, sorry, Nick.
while we're on FBA, how are you getting on with your FBA
Yeah.
selling, and what are your thoughts?
I mean, for me personally, for the amount of books that got sort of entered into my life, shall we say, it was good because there's no way I could have done it without that. But I think for a normal person, a normal sort of part-time person, it's not worth touching because the fee structure and you got to pay like £40 a month, and then you've got to pay for the scanning software and all. It's a lot of money. So if you're doing an eBay business and you're finding you're coming across a lot of new products or books, it's worth doing. But for the small time or even the medium eBay sellers, it's not worth bothering with. But for me, the benefit really is my time because these books are everywhere. I've got 2 storage units. I've got a double car garage full. My house is full, and I've got a workshop that's full, and 2 sheds that are all full of books. Um, and that's after sending in over 3,500 books into Amazon. I've still got that many books left.
Is this all the stock from that
Yeah,
house that you cleared?
yeah. So,
Wow.
but in a strange, bizarre way, I've been buying books specifically like reference or military books or something like that, much like that warship book you had, because I'm finding myself drawn to them now because I've just been so busy listing them. But they do slowly sell, but as you said, it's a numbers game. Because I
Mm.
have got that many books there, something does sell every day. But for me, the main benefit is that they store it for me, and also that they post it for me. Because I mean, I get stressed out when I sell more than sort of 10 things in a weekend because I've got bubble wrap here, there, and everywhere. So it's nice that they're posting it out as well. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
the main benefit for me that I can be down the pub or at the car boot and I get a notification that something's sold and they posted it out for me, and that's really nice.
yeah, it is a very, very appealing system, but it would have made sense for me with the new stuff that I do. But I find that with the fees, like you said, the fees are quite high because they charge extra because they're packing it and dealing with it and all of that. And with 90% of what I sell, the new stuff, I can achieve more on eBay anyway.
Yeah.
And actually, you'll be able to answer this hopefully. If you've got a load of stock with Amazon and the price collapses on it or whatever, and you need to get your stock back because you want to sell it on another platform, how difficult is that to suddenly say, "Oi, Amazon, give me all of my Lego games back" or something?
Well, it's it's fair. I've had to recall some stuff, not because the price crashed, but because some things because they got damaged in the warehouse or whatnot, and it was fairly simple to get my stuff back, but I had to pay. I think it was 50p an item to get it sent back to me, and it took about 2 weeks to get each item back. But because they were coming from different warehouses, they all sort of came separately. So there was just loads. I think I had 6 things coming back to me, and it was 4 parcels. So it was not too bad. But I think if you just got, say, you got, like a Lego set and quantity of 16, I think it'd be relatively easy to get it sent back to you. But you would have to pay 50p an item to get it sent back to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you can pay 25p an item and they'll destroy it, which I don't think they do, but yeah.
Oh, really? They'll destroy it for you.
Yeah. So there is that they've got kind of you're sort of financially blackmailed by them to keep the stock. You can't just leave it there because they'll charge you to store it if you just leave it there. They'll charge you to throw it away, or they'll charge you to send it back. So
Yeah,
you've got to be pretty certain that it's going to sell at some point.
I know.
Uh,
I understand why they set it up like that, because if you think of it from their point of view, they don't want to be a giant warehousing system for free for tons of crap that's never going to sell. So they've had to build in these sort of redundancies, so they don't end up being a sucker storing somebody's rubbish.
And I mean, someone will probably correct me on this, but there is like a monthly storage fee, which is pennies per month, which is fine by me. But then if you have an item that's in their warehouse for more than a year, long-term storage fees kick in. But they're not too bad unless you've got more than one item. So say you've got 5 Lego sets with them, they'll charge you quite a bit. But if you've got 5 different Lego sets, they'll not charge you very much at all.
Okay.
So that's interesting. But yeah, it's going great. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. Box stuff up, send it in at the start of the week, and then the rest of the week I'll concentrate on eBay. But I think really the place for it is niche books, pristine, new and sealed items, and sort of hot items, things that are really popular. I think those 3 things, FBA is a winner. And anything else, you can merchant fulfill it. But the new items have got to be pristine.
Yeah, that's kind of what I use it for. But I just merchant fulfill all my stuff. I put expensive books on there. I think I showed recently. I picked up a load of graphic novels.
Yeah, they're great.
And Amazon is perfect for that. That's the sort of place people go to buy those sort of things. So I stuck a load of those on there. And some of my new stuff I sell through Amazon if the price is that much higher than eBay that it's worth doing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be careful with the pricing structure on Amazon because you get, I think they're called drop shippers, and also people who are, I think, mentally insane, who has the most diabolical prices on there. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I was chatting with Joe on YouTube about prices on media stock, like this sort of stuff that the big guys, the Music Magpie guys, who sell through Amazon and eBay, and they must get huge discounts on their postage for a start, and then their fees, because they sell CDs for £1.27, they sell games, even some box sets at £1.27 delivered, and I can't even send the item for that. So it's ludicrous, and they've really killed the market in media.
Yeah, media's tough. The only media products really which those guys haven't ventured into is the blank media, like those camcorder cassettes you picked up the other day. I think that's the only media really that does all right on Amazon. Yeah, but I mean, talking about prices, also there's the other end of the spectrum where you get people asking stupid prices where they have just, I mean, I once had I think I mentioned it to you, an audio cassette tape. It was some kind of, what's it called, like an audio book, and it was a 2-tape audio cassette tape, and the price on Amazon was £4.8 billion. And it had like lots of different numbers, and it's where some kind of, I think it's where some kind of a sort of software goes silly, and it sort of automatically updates the prices so it's more expensive than the other one. There's a couple of web pages highlighting stupid prices like that. So I bought the audio tape, and I came home and said to my girlfriend, "Well, we're billionaires hopefully soon, if we sell this." Days. I think I did send it into FBA, and I think I put it on there for $24.99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what might have happened is when they got to the enter your price bit, they just scanned the barcode, so the price came up as the barcode. You think?
I bet. Do you know what? That's probably about right, actually. Yeah. So.
It's laughable. People do that on. I mean, I've been selling on Amazon for years, like I say, and you come across it now and again where you come up with a product and there's just one person who has it. So they've gone, this must be rare and this must be expensive, and they just make up a price. And fair play to them, you might as well try. But I mean, certain items I've gone, oh, I've got one of these. It must be worth a lot of money. And you check on eBay, and they're going for $2.99, and you think, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you just, I don't know.
But that happens quite a lot. That what'll happen is I'll look on my phone. It says like there's 6 sellers and they're all selling it around the same price. But what's happened is the first person who's listed it for say 49.99. Then someone else has come in and gone, oh, that's good. I'll price it at 49.95, and then everyone sort of undercut the others. So it actually looks like a nice spread of prices. But you look on eBay and they're going for 9.99, and no one's bought those products, so they're still on there. So and the problem comes is when there isn't one on eBay, so you don't know how much it's worth.
Another point, while I think of it, about selling on Amazon and using scan apps and stuff, which a lot of people do, you need to be careful, especially with some games and DVDs, that there will have been 2 or 3 issues of a game sometimes. And I've come across this many times. You'll get a platinum edition, and you'll get a reissue, and then a budget version later, and they'll all have slightly different barcodes. So you've got to be careful if you're scanning something, because if it might be a random reissue that not many people had, somebody might be able to trying to get 20, 30 quid on Amazon. But if you look at the regular issue, it's 1p, and nobody's ever going to buy your 20 quid one. So you need to actually search the title sometimes. It's the same with some books, I think. They have multiple barcodes.
Yeah, you've got to be careful, because especially things like guitar tabs and other things, for some reason they have 2 barcodes. So I always scan both to look that up as well. You've got to, you've got to be. I just thought of an example then, but you've got to be really careful of that. And also, say with the Hot Wheels stuff, you've got all different types, but they've got the same barcode. So you can scan that barcode in, and it might not be for your product. They've just put it on all of them.
Yeah, the Amazon database and the Amazon database of barcodes and products is pretty screwed up in some cases. You have to be really careful, because quite often the product and the barcode are wrong, or they're mismatched, or the description's wrong. Yeah. Their site has a lot of errors. I mean, it might be better these days. I don't use it a lot, but in the past it was just so many mistakes on there.
Yeah, I've fallen foul to that before. I'm not doing it anymore, but I used to put blank VHS tapes on Amazon. I used to send them in to FBA, but you've got to read the small print, because I caught this luckily and got it sent back to me. But the listing actually said pack of 2 of them, and I'd only sent 1 in. So someone had done it as like a multi-pack and changed the listing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to be careful. But yeah. So yeah. Did I ask you that one? Yeah. So on that theme, what would you say your favorite things you like to buy, and what are your favorite things you like to sell?
As for buying, I suppose it's toys and games. I think I've become known on YouTube now for my board games. It's something I tend to end up with a lot of, and so yeah, I really enjoy finding them. I like playing the things anyway. I always have done. I've been a bit of a game nut, so it's something I enjoy, and that kind of drew me towards them. And then I found that it's a really good market because it's so overlooked, and certain board game titles you can make really good money on, and even the bog standard stuff, if you turn over enough of it, it can create a really good income. So yeah, board games for me is a big thing. But then media stuff, this is my background, this is my kind of bread and butter stuff, the games and CDs. I'm a huge music fan, so I'm drawn to CDs. And yeah, so media and games, I would say, board games. What about yourself? I know you have a big interest in coins and stuff. Is that your kind of passion?
Yeah, I mean, I do and I don't. I do. I don't talk about it as much, mainly because of where the market's gone. It's become a much more difficult thing to do. And I'll buy them for myself, and I'll buy them and resell them. But the profit margins are just not nearly as good. The only time you'll get insane profit margins is if you buy something off somebody who has no idea what it is. and then they can be stupid. But yeah, say I'll buy a coin for £180 and I'll sell it for £110 or 200. Sorry, £180 and sell it for 200 or £210, and it's tough. It's really tough, but it interests me, and that's kind of how I got into it. It's a bizarre sort of. It's how I got into YouTube. That I went out metal detecting, and someone said, "Oh, check this guy out online." So I watched his videos, and then I got linked to a guy in America called Terminal 99, Will, who does videos. Watched his, and then I thought, well, I'm already going to the car boot, so I might as well have a look for coins, and then I just kept finding loads of them. But I think it's got to the point now where a lot of people have sold the stuff, and I'm just not seeing it at all. So.
So what do you find that you're buying most of and doing well with now then?
Trivial Pursuits, because of you. I've got like a
Everyone's buying Trivial Pursuit now. I've started a revolution.
Yeah, and also thanks to you, got some of the Furbies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't manage too many of them. I think
I was going to hold out till near Christmas, but I couldn't resist it, so I put mine all on, and I've sold 4 now, I think, in 2 days, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, as an experiment, I put 2 on Amazon, merchant fulfilled, and then I put the other 4 on eBay. Sorry, 5 on eBay, and I've sold 1 on eBay for 20 quid, with £2 postage, I think. No, £1.99 postage, and I sold both of the ones on Amazon. One went to Italy and one went to France, so that was quite nice. And they sold for, I think it was 25 or 26 euros. So, yeah, not too bad.
Cool.
I don't like posting things to Italy though, because I've had so many things go missing that I've posted there. But yeah.
Yeah, same here. I find on eBay, if I put an item as international, I don't. I exclude Spain, Portugal, and Italy now. Spain was the worst one for me. If I sent 5 things to Spain, 3 of them would magically disappear, and they would make a claim against me. Portugal became the same, and then Italy, a few valuable items just vanished into midair. And so I don't know what it is about those territories, but I was getting conned no end.
Yeah, it does seem like a bit of a con. But yeah, the things I like to buy are new sealed stuff. Like I got these recently, the Hot Wheels Ballistics.
They look familiar.
Yeah, I got absolutely loads. It was from a wholesaler. And yeah, I think I paid £1.50 or £1.60 each, and I got hundreds and hundreds of them, as well as loads of other stuff. Yeah, and they are selling, but they're just fairly slow.
With those little Hot Wheels ones, Tom, I did well doing. I think there's 4 or 5 different ones. Correct me if I'm wrong. I did a set and did quite well out of that, doing them in little bundles. You could try that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try that because I've got a lot of common ones. I've got a lot of the Batman series, which are relatively common. The other day from BM Bargains, I picked up some of the Generals, I think they're called, as well as some Pokemon ones. So I'm gonna put those on before Christmas. See if I can get rid of them there. But yeah, I like buying the new seals. I love buying ink cartridges. I've always done well with ink cartridges, as long as they're not like knockoff ones or refilled ones. I actually, when I was younger, used to work at a cartridge remanufacture place that refilled them. So I kind of got a lot of experience in that field. And toner cartridges especially, I've made some insane money on toners. I in fact sold one the day before yesterday. I paid £1 at the car boot. I sold it for 149.99 on Amazon Merchant Fulfilled.
What, one toner cartridge?
Yeah, but it was a replacement
That's mad.
head. The toner cartridge. It was a massive thing. It was huge. It was HP, and it was the whole replacement head unit for one. And I mean, new, which it was, and normally they're over £200 at least.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I've had some joy with this.
yeah,
I don't know if you saw back in the summer, I got a couple of job lots of toner cartridges. It
yeah,
worked out about £1 each then, actually. And I've cleared most of those for an average of about 20 quid each.
yeah.
So that was quick, easy money on those.
Yeah, that's good. I think if you price them at reasonable amounts and you know you just check that they haven't been resealed or and you've got to be really good with that. And then also with the ink cartridges, you've got to check the dates. You've got, I mean, I've sold out of date ones. That's not a problem, but you know you've got to disclose the fact that it's out of date if it is. And
Yeah, yeah.
oh well. So yeah, I enjoy buying those, and I enjoy buying books actually. Much to the disgruntlement of my back and friends and family, I'm buying more books. But I've had some great deals on books, some stupid deals on books. They kind of get overlooked really at car boot sales and some charity shops. Things like Oxfam, though, I don't even bother going into because they look everything up.
Yeah, yeah, same here. I don't even look in mine in Hitchin now. It's so overpriced, and their range is so poor as well for some reason in our local one. Talking about books, you've probably seen I do a lot of this sort of thing, kids box sets, and these are so overlooked at car boot sales. I mean, this one I'm going to put on at 20 quid with £7 postage, and that cost me £1.
Yeah. I,
In
th-
it like stuff. It's just mad. People just, and that was right at the end of a car boot sale. It had sat there all morning and nobody had even looked at it. And the woman had a few of them. And I'm going to make about 50 quid on these few. It's just,
Yeah,
it's
I think they do better on eBay than Amazon. On Amazon, they don't seem to do as good, but they definitely do. I bought some of the Oxford, no, I think they were Ladybird phonics books a while back. There was something to do with phonics anyway, and they were 25p each, and there was like a set of them. They were missing the outside sleeve, which was unfortunate. But they
yeah.
sold for like 30 odd quid. They were sold really well.
Was it the Usborne phonics ones like that? I'm just about to list those
Uh,
ones.
yeah, yeah, it was one of those.
They don't get
It was all the books that were there, but it was missing that outside sleeve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I find that quick and easy, and just I don't know. Like I say, they're overlooked. I think that most of the dealers where I go overlook the board games and they overlook a lot of the toys that I buy, and they completely pass up on the books. And
yeah,
that's what I do. I kind of steer my way around the stuff that everyone else is looking for, if I can. Where I go, there's a lot of people looking for games, so I buy what I can, but most of those get snapped up. There's a lot
yeah.
of people buying up DVDs, and there's people buying phones and gold, and I don't really get involved in any of that. So
Well, that's the reason why. One of the main reasons why I stopped doing it. There was too much competition. There was whole like almost teams and families of people, and they just, have you got any mobile phones? Have you got any gold? And it was getting silly. It was just getting to the point of I'd go to a car boot sale and I wouldn't buy anything, or I'd desperation buy something and pay too much money. But now I either run out of cash or run out of energy. I haven't got enough time or money to buy any more stuff. Right? It's just now my eyes have opened to the possibilities of all these different things.
yeah,
I've been going wild. So
yeah, absolutely. I enjoy nothing more than going out in the summer and coming home with my estate car full up. I just it's yeah, it never gets old. I
yeah,
thoroughly enjoy it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The gold and silver game it's interesting to be in. I've had some, as I've talked to before in the past, and you know, I found a 9 carat gold necklace that weighed an ounce. I paid £1 for it, and I sold that for £480. Um,
Wow.
and that was a woman whose husband had ran off with her friend. They got divorced, and she was selling his stuff off, so she didn't care at all. She did not care. So I didn't feel too bad. I still did feel a bit bad, but she named her price, and I was like, yeah, sure.
Exactly. I mean, you can't feel bad about that because if you didn't buy it, the next person to go to that store would have bought it
Yeah,
anyway. And, you
100%,
know,
yeah. And I think in that case, because it looked so shiny, so sort of blingy, it looked fake because
yeah,
no one would think, God, that's a big piece of gold to see in a car, but it was too obvious. The same with a score that I had at an auction once, which was a huge gold coin that was sort of about that sort of size, massive gold coin. It weighed over half an ounce of pure gold. And because it looked like that, everybody thought it was a fake, but it was real. And I sold that for nearly £1,000. And
wow.
yeah, and I paid the lot. I think I paid 200 quid for the lot, and the other stuff I sold for about 250, something like that. So essentially, it was free, really. So yeah, crazy.
Wow.
But they're nice little bonuses. I'm still looking for them, but they're nice little bonuses if I find anything. But I'm not in that boom or bust mentality anymore. So consistency is what you need really. I've got another question. Yes, saying about car boots. Have you any funny stories you can think to mind? As I've said in my last video about the drunken woman who was trying to add up 80p and 30p. Just wondered if you had any that you could think of.
Um, I, I did think about it last night. I can't remember what I was thinking about now. I've got one story that isn't really funny, but it happened at a car boot sale when I was threatened by another dealer. It
Huh?
wasn't funny at all, but this was when I was really big on CDs in the early days. I do buy a lot, as you've probably seen, but I buy nowhere near as many as I used to because there's not as much money in it. But I was at a certain car boot sale, and the guy was selling his whole CD collection. So I got in there, and I was picking them all out, and I was making little piles right next to me. So it's obvious they were my stacks, and you can see what's going to come here. But anyway, I
Yeah.
had two piles, probably about 100 CDs, and another dealer who I don't know by name, but he always recognises me, and we sort of see each other and sort of pass each other by. He came up and just started grabbing the CDs out of these stacks. So I just turned to him politely and said, those are mine, those are already taken. And he just hit the roof. He just started calling me everything you can imagine and had a right go at me. And I said, look, calm down, just because I got here first, blah, 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 these are mine, leave them alone. And then he turned to me and he said, I'll be waiting for you by the gates when you leave. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a
Bloody
pile of
hell.
second-hand CDs.
Uh,
And that was unbelievable. But I was actually quite shaken up. I don't like confrontation and I don't like arguments. And this guy, who I don't know from Adam, was basically threatening me in the middle of a field. You know, it's like, oh my God. So, yeah, that was a bit of a shocker.
on that same vein, two things. Last weekend, last Sunday, I actually saw a full-on fight at the car boot sale over. I couldn't see what it was, but it was a computer game. It was a DVD disc, and the guy had picked it up, said, how much for that? The guy said £4. He said, oh yeah, I'll have that. It was obviously a good price. He put it down and went to get the money out of his pocket, and another guy swooped in, picked it up, and gave the guy a £5 note and said, "Don't worry about the change," and started walking off. So, and
Yeah.
this guy just went ballistic, and he just had him by the throat, and it was really messy. So, throwing out all racist slurs and everything. And then he proceeded to go around everybody at the car boot, telling them not to sell anything to this guy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was messy. Um, but I found the worst actually is older women at car boots. They kind of muscle me out of the way because I can't really say anything back to them. So especially when I'm looking at jewellery, they'll kind of nudge in, and then they'll nudge in a little bit more, and the next thing I know, I'm at the edge of the wall somehow. So yeah, I've often found that to be tricky. Uh,
Yeah.
so
I
yeah,
think I said in a video quite a while back, over the years and years of doing this, I've got to the point now to stop people reaching in front of me and whipping out the really good stuff before I've even had a chance to look at it. I find if I was at a car boot sale and this was all on the table, I'd pick the whole lot up
yeah,
and put it in my arm and then put down what I don't want. It's such a better way of doing it. It stops people just squeezing in and grabbing it from right in front of you, because it's just a lawless place, as you know, the car boot sale. And there's no written rules. You can do whatever you like, but there's a kind of a rule: if it's in your hand, it's yours until you put it down again.
yeah.
So I grab the whole box of whatever it is and only put it down when I've decided what I want.
Yeah, I do that sometimes. So if I've got a coat, I'll kind of create like a sort of a barrier, so I'm in this area. Yeah, some of the things. And also I've been in the opposite situation where I've been looking through stuff and I've seen someone pick up something great, and then you're willing them, you're hoping that they'll...
Yeah, put it down, put it down.
Yeah, so and often, sometimes what's happened is someone's bought something, and I've gone up to them and said, "If you want to double your money, I'll give you." And I'd say 9 times out of 10, they said they'll like sell it on eBay or whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah, so oh,
Right, I'm going to have to wrap up shortly, mate, because
yeah,
I've got to be
no
somewhere.
worries.
So,
Yeah,
um,
no, it's good thank you. And if you want to do it again, just have a brief chat every now and then, or if anybody else wants to join in and have a chat about what's going on, and let us know.
absolutely, we'll put the word out there and see if other people want to join in.
Yeah, or if there's any subjects that people want us to cover or chat about, just leave a comment and we'll try and get that done. It looks like we've had 7 viewers though, Nick, which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, we're
Wow.
all chatting. So some people have obviously not got a lot to do today.
Okay, right, well, thanks
We'll
so much, Tom.
Yep, catch you sometime soon, and yeah, if you want to think of some questions, you can maybe ask me next time, or vice versa, whatever.
Absolutely. Cheers,
Cool.
buddy. Take care.
Catch you later. Bye.